Let's go. Richter, my boy. Good to see you, dog. Good to see my dog. Yes, indeed it was session 1 of the Sword Coast. Oh man, somebody pulled this way the heck out. Dude, it was so fun last night. It was crazy. It's interesting to me because I've been kind of I've been trying to find, more people to interview. Appreciate you hooking me up. I've also been looking to just kind of expand my network while doing that, right? To find guests, but also just to find different DMs, get to know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. And man, last night, let me just bring up the actual document. Last night I had really 3 kind of main hooks. They were meant to kind of begin the campaign, right? Set a tone a little bit, introduce them to some potential challenges, allies, situations, etc. And I'll be damned if the party didn't just blow by every single one of them. Every single one. And, that happens. But I bring it up because, I think that, and this is not to be like, oh my God, my party. But I think that, in this, last night is not an example of this. But it can be poor etiquette for a table to simply have 0 hook ability. Now, some of that's on the DM, obviously, right? We need to make it compelling and grounded and blah, 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 blah. And I don't even mean that. I more mean, I really had this vibe from the table that they almost were just watching me. I felt like I was playing with 2 out of the 5 characters in the party. And everyone else was sort of taking it in, And to some degree that's to be expected. It's a whole new world. Dark Sun is a different place, right? Definitely a lot of setting the tone. Yeah, exactly. No, Richter, they I think they sort of were oh, wow, interesting. What else is here? Vroom! Perfect example. Oh my God, perfect example. Is the city that they were kind of opening outside of is a city that doesn't exist in Dark Sun. It's a conceit of my own. It's called Caravanity. And the idea is that it's sort of the last mercantile center in existence. It's run by a league of merchants. It's very, very heavily protected. People are only let in and out if they can prove that they are a buyer, they have the means to purchase, or if they can prove that they are selling wares, an actual item. Then once you get inside, you have to kind of make good on that. People have bracelets as either sellers or buyers. Whenever a transaction is completed, that's demarked. So once they got in, part of the justification to get in was one of the druids was looking for a pouch, component pouch. And so basically that was their first stop. They get in. We've been playing for 45 minutes. They've been kind of getting over the hump and getting in there. And they get in, and I made the shopkeep. In my mind, he was like a old bear, little slow, roundy. And they talked to him for a while. Talked to him for fucking ever, right? But I described it as a pretty humble kind of 12 by 18 space. There's a back room behind it you can kind of see into. Smells like hide, smells like tanning. And basically he'd taken I described it as the organs, the stomach, the scrotums, a lot of physical sealed organs and turned those into bags, turned them into carrying devices. Pretty cool. They were into it. They haggled a little bit, bought some bags. But basically, almost one by one, they kind of... and they've just entered this city that is, the only merchant center. They basically, to this one guy were sort of what else you got? Yeah, anything magical? Anything mysterious? I don't know. Anything interesting? We're on, item 17, 18. And... oh, man. I found myself, we started at 6:15. We took a break around probably 8:30. Normally we break closer to 8. And then we played till like 9:30. We played like 3.5 hours. But I found myself on this break just being like, what the beep? Son of a... Like, what is going on? And I think that's just like how it goes sometimes. It'd been a while since I had run a session for this party. They are good peeps. They're good friends. And I mean, I didn't mean to go into this long of a diatribe about it, but I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused on like what I want moving forward, if that makes sense. Like, I know I don't want to feel like I'm just like running a radio play that occasionally needs someone to respond to it. I know I don't want that. And I know that's also bad DMing. Like, if that's habitually a problem, then I'm not giving enough space to my players. But this seemed like maybe they were just kind of out of practice a little bit. We hadn't played in 6 months. I don't know. But it ended up being a great session. They had fun. The second half of it was rowdy. A lot of momentum, really got going. But dude, I prepped session 1. Look at this, dude. Look at this. I prepped 3 pages and was through all of it in an hour. Like nothing stuck. I mean, I truly was like stunned. So I don't know. Well, I'll just revisit that. If it goes on again, I think I just need to be like some version of, hey man, what's up? Like, guys, it feels a little bit, blah, 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 blah. But not in a blamey sense. I just more mean communication is everything. Like, if there's something that's bumping me and feels odd, then I should acknowledge that and say that, right? Okay. That, as they say, is that. So you opened with a really slow go and then ripped through your material. Yeah, more or less, right? I mean, I wouldn't say ripped through it, and maybe it was more than an hour, but let's walk through the proper recap. Came in with a cool opening, basically was more or less like the whole party, every single one of them chose a character that is younger than 35, meaning that they never knew any world other than Athos, right? They never saw Faerun before this great loss, before this great undoing of both the arcane and the divine. And rolled in. I was going to do this thing with Bilbin, right? And it just didn't feel right to me. As I reread it before the session, I was like, it's talking about like the storm chasers, them getting killed, them getting thrown into hell, blood and flames. Like, I don't necessarily want to open a new campaign in like the bad juju of the old one. You know? You don't bring the corpse of your ex-wife into the marriage bed. That's the only analogy that works here. So that's why I'm using that. So I kind of threw that out. I did more of like a rolling kind of intro. And then I came into describing where they were, which was like an outpost about a mile away from the city of Caravanity, which is a literal moving city. A lot of it, they're not really sure how it works. Is it arcane? Is it mechanical? But the location can sometimes stay stagnant for decades, can sometimes change in a matter of days. And my plan was to sort of introduce them just outside the city. They're kind of in this naturally made semicircle, like a huge stretching 2.5 mile arc that the center of is very loose sand. And so what the city has done as like a convenience and a precaution is to set up these sand skiffs that run people to and from. It's a way to like control who can come to the gates. It's also a way to kind of vet people to be like, do you have coin? Do you have something to sell? Etc. Oh my gosh. Oh, dude, yes. I'm on my 3rd marriage. The previous 2, of course, are deceased. But I learned after the first one that you got to move the old one out first before the new one can move in. You know, that's true. Yo, Garvanch, what's up, baby boy? Good seeing you, big dog. How goes it? How fares it across the sea? It's Wednesday. We vibing. Started a new campaign yesterday, and I'm kind of recapping it right now. But I hope you're good, G. I've been working on some music, dude. I got some new tracks. I'm good. I'm really, honestly great. It's been an interesting time. Strange. Strange. Yeah, it's an interesting time, but I feel grateful, man. Like, I really feel pretty plugged in terms of like what needs to happen, where my focus needs to be, where my time needs to go. To that end, I will only be streaming on Wednesdays, once a week. And I have been streaming on TikTok quite a bit. And honestly, it's been awesome. Like, enormous viewership, significant growth. So, yeah. If you want to hang, if you want to get involved in a live, TikTok is really the way to do it with me. It's very warm out here. Interesting. It is like rainy and dreary AF. It's extremely dreary. It is unbelievably dreary. TikTok is banned in India? Damn, young. And is that under pseudo privacy concerns? Is it because the TikTok in India is used as like a political device, kind of like it is here in America? Since 2020? Schneikos. I did not know that. Okay. Well, then don't follow me there. Catch me on YouTube. India banned all Chinese applications. Interesting. And what was the ramp up to that? As you drop that into the chat, let me walk you through what happened. So I read all of this, right? Evening approaches, sun dropping, things changing. You see the tent pole, see the moving city. You see this enormous ring of hardstone, semicircle. People are queuing in, throngs congregating, blah, blah, blah. There's a gap. There's this guy Thristle, who's sort of like running the show, ushering people forward. Many of the humanoids are shoeless, hard-pressed. And what I really wanted to happen was they would be grouped up, and while grouped up by this guy Grex.
Grex is sort of like a real hard customer. Yeah, he moves kind of quick. He lost his voice. He's never gotten it back.
And he's a old gnome, bad goatee, narrow eyes, weird dude. But basically he was like,
I'll tell you what, it's your first time in the city. Maybe you want to get to know it a little better. I work with a guy always looking for people that know how to handle themselves.
And more or less it was an offer to fight in a little fighting ring. They would fight a beast or beasts. And if they were successful, they'd be allowed entree into a more exclusive area of the city. They didn't seem interested at all. Very well. The weather starts getting bad, right? I kind of start describing how even the visibility is changing. And I was really torn on this before the session because I knew we were going to begin just outside the city with them needing to travel to the city. And I considered having the weather get so bad that they weren't able to travel, that they had to hunker down in this little outpost. My vibe then was some things were going to happen. Maybe there's a theft. Maybe there's an attack. I had some thoughts there. But my plan was to roll forward in the moment because I hadn't made up my mind. I didn't know. I was going to say, I think it was on like a 14 or 15 higher. I was going to say that the weather got too bad to traverse. And I rolled like an 8. So I let it happen. As they're leaving, as they're boarding this sand skiff and heading to the actual city, they see this beautiful dwarf almost returning. And because of the proximity to them, their boat can't set off yet. They have to wait and watch this boat make landing. And as they do, this dwarf kind of stands up. The time of the Sorcerer Kings is nigh at hand. The closing of one epoch, the beginning of another. The cleansing of the weaves of magic. Any and all that have need of mending, your pots, your clothes, your weapons, come, we will see all our help one by one. And I had people kind of looking around, not knowing how to react. One woman pulls off some very worn boots, blah, 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 blah. And again, it's like everything was happening like around the party. You know what I mean? Amon, good seeing you. Bugles up. I'm not sure what you mean by the wisdom save. Go ahead and give me the rundown on that. Save the ashes of the old campaign as a reveal later. And better yet, remake the story of the ashes into the heroic tale you want it to be. Richter, can you explain that a little bit more? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Promoting more local approaches, as in more local apps? Is there an Indian TikTok? Promoting more local approaches. Relative to TikTok, I don't really get that. Because I feel like most social media is the opposite of localized, right? I'm clearly missing something, guys. I'm missing the brilliant knowledge that you are dropping upon my head. But I would like to know. I'm just going to punch up the music a little bit. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cool. My God. Okay. And, you know, Lucaria is this dwarf that is essentially the leader of this new faction of mages called the Mages of the White Sun. Her father, now deceased, was one of the main villains of the previous campaign. And they were definitely interested. There's definitely like a bit of a like, oh, who the fuck is she? You passed on the retelling of the end of the last one. Yes, exactly, Richter. Completely. No, thank you. That's why I'm so glad you clarified. Because it will be time to reveal that. They will have a moment where they come across Bilbin. And maybe he retells this story. Right? Completely agreed. I mean, there's enough of a through line. Like, the only part that I feel like really played for me, like that really, truly played, was inside Caravanity. Right here. A copper, please, a copper. And you see an elf, gaunt, almost like their eyes are so deep set in the sockets you're not sure if they have eyes. And one of them was sort of like, magic users ruin the world, and now they expect us to take care of them. And it was moments like that that cued me in where I'm like, oh man, like the party is really listening. Like they're very engaged. I'm not sure if they thought that I had more that I wanted to set them up for, you know what I mean? But it seemed like they were just sort of watching the ball go up and then back down and then back up and back down. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is, you can catch the ball and throw it. Okay, I'll keep doing it. And that, maybe it was just a weird day for me leading up. I don't know. Either way, it was a strange vibe. I had a story where a fairy mended objects to get objects from a person for her spellcraft. That's rad, Amon. Still don't know what the wisdom save was, but appreciate these non sequiturs. Peppering the chat. Exactly, Richter. Like, they have no idea what was going on. So I think some of that's fair. Anyway, they take it over. They go across the way. They get inside. They know that there has to be these Caravanity. Sorry. Sellers are given red wristbands and buyers white ones. Wristbands. These. I mean, honestly, this moment was like, you know, sort of worked out. Like, all in all, it just felt like I was doing a ton of labor as a DM. Like, the amount of improv that I had to do, literally all of these notes are roleplay names and locations because I had to pull so much in because what was being offered was sort of like observed and moved past. You know what I mean? And I do think that you reach like a critical mass in D&D where there's enough out there that you as a DM don't need to like be throwing shit at them all the time. Definitely more pronounced at the beginning of a campaign. But fuck, man. Like, I guess what I'm feeling is that the beginning of this session was not at all what I thought it was going to be. And for that reason, it kind of, like, not that it felt bad, it just felt unknown. You know? I'd done all this prep, I'm like sitting there ready for session one, and then it becomes its own thing entirely. That's okay. So when you do reveal, do not tell the story truthfully. Ah, yes, buddy. Well put. Screenshotting this. This is extremely... You know what? I'm not even going to screenshot. I will screenshot it because I want it in the comment Hall of Fame. But I am just going to go ahead and add it in. Do not tell the story truthfully. Tell it how you want it to be. The players will know the truth, but the characters will not. and that will enrage the hell out of them completely. Or maybe you did mean engage the hell out of them. I think you're wise. I think that's well put. Just going to make a note. Interesting. Cool. Remembers a slightly different version. I love this. That really will both enrage and engage them to the absolute maximum. You're absolutely right, Amon, exactly. And like, I think that sometimes those reframings and retellings, when they're obvious, can tell you a lot about the NPC that's describing them. You know what I mean? The players will know the truth, the characters will not. Easy, you were confused, so you probably managed to do the save. I feel like if I'm confused, I failed the save, but I think that I didn't. So I appreciate that belief, Amon. Thank you, dude. Dude, I hear you're stressed about them passively engaging. Totally. But they were wrapped and completely engaged. Appreciate that. It was a lot of work, but the thing is, dude, and that's 100% what it is. And that is, the groundwork was enormous. Like, they saw many different areas of Caravanity. They got a feel for some of the political structure within it. They ended up basically going to a tavern to kind of blow off some steam. They ran into some people there that were more or less celebrating the recent death of the king of Tyre, Kalak. And that was given to me in the actual source book. Very cool. I like that they begin the campaign by one of the sorcerer kings being killed, being murdered. Like, let's fucking go. So there was a ton of tone setting. You know what? Let me just finish kind of blasting through this recap, because I want you to sort of walk with me on how this went. I consider myself to be a black belt DM. And not to be like, you aren't, or your DM isn't a black belt DM. People DM differently. Like, some of the best DMs I can think of, honestly, like a Ninners or a Foos, great example. Both of them have styles performatively that are way different from my own. But, I mean, I find extremely compelling just as a viewer. I have very much enjoyed it. I guess I haven't played with them as such. Well, I know I would enjoy it as a player. My point is, you can skin the cat 100 different ways and have it be successful. But we're human. And that sort of intrinsic gut reaction, it's hard for me to not have that just as a performer, right? Where like, I don't care. I don't care if it's Hamlet or a kid show. A part of me, and this part of me isn't actively affected, but a part of me is tracking the audience the whole time, because that information is critical to me. In the same way that whenever I watch playback of an audition, or if I'm editing my own stuff and I'm one of the actors in it, it's impossible for me to not turn off the interpretation of how I look at this camera angle, how I look making this choice. And I don't mean like how I look, I mean how it reads and translates to the audience, right? But thank you for saying what you said, Richter, because very easy for us to beat ourselves up. And fundamentally, I know as well that even whenever it's in my gut, I'm like, ooh, man, I killed that. That was the performance. That was the one. Sometimes I'll go back and look at the takes, and it was actually a little too much. Or actually, I thought that it came across that I was scared, but it more came across that I was angry. You know what I mean? So our emotional reaction isn't always telling us the truth. So important to not be overwhelmed by it, right? Different levels of information also can be a method to play with. I love that, Amon. And the world of Athos is very limited in terms of education, so that's already in play. Totally, Richter. Agreed. Amon, how did you give them a warning with an illusion? Was the illusion of like what could happen if they used one of the inventions wrong? Okay, so we open in the outskirts. Weather's getting bad. They're getting on a sand skiff, heading out for Caravanity. As they do, another skiff is coming back, holding a beautiful dwarf in this faded dress of stars. She gets out, more or less, is like, the Sorcerer Kings ain't gonna be around forever. Also, if anybody needs anything fixed, I got you. And that type of altruism that type of generosity does not exist in Athos. It was an abnormality, and the people reacted as such before a woman pulled off a boot and offered it, and the dwarf dragged her hand the length of the sole, and as she moved it from heel to toe, you saw what had been a loose, free-falling sole of a shoe, now firmly attached and cobbled, as if it had never been worn or taken a step further than the moment of its creation. She used a sort of projection stone. Cool. That's a good warning. Yo, there's a big spider coming across the sea. So maybe don't do what you're about to do, party. The party watches this dwarf do their thing. No huge reaction. And then they head into the actual caravanity. Crossing that sea of sand was a good moment to sort of describe the wasteland. Describe the fierceness with which the wind has eroded and minimized much of the natural landscape. That to me is very cool. And the 4th edition Dark Sun book does a phenomenal job of describing some of the... In fact, I want to just open this. Where are you? Does an incredible job of opening some of the... like the reference points of what the natural world and the landscape will look like. Okay, so I think I have it here, but it's really not. So let me just see. Can I open this? Can I do it this way? Sick. Let's go. So this is just a reference, but I want you guys to see it because I thought this was awesome. Equipment. Cool. Dope. Yeah, look at this. Like boulder fields, mud flats, rocky badlands, salt flats. Like I really love the different variety of wasteland and the descriptions that they give you because that's what sinks people into it. Like if it's constantly desert, if it's constantly this, that, it just gets so banal and repetitive. So the party makes it to the city. They show that they can either buy or sell. They go in, they make it to this purse shop after not too long. They see a begging wizard, blah, blah, blah. They buy the sort of bags from this merchant, this sort of big bear fellow, who are described as an enormous, bald man, corpulent and slow-moving, tobacco stains across his mouth and teeth. And, dude, they're really, like, full press on this guy. Like, what else you got? What else is in there? You have anything cooler than that? And at one point, he walks over and, like, presses down on this table that opens up. And beneath it, he pulls out a book. An extremely worn paperback. Books don't exist in Athos. And they seemed very unimpressed. They're like, a book? And I was like, oh, it's a book of lore. And I was going to use it, and I did use it to describe the Four Sisters, which is going to be, hopefully, a pretty big hook and a pretty big, plot point of Arc 1. So I was able to get the lore down there. They wanted to buy some more stuff, and there was something else. I described it as a ring being for sale, one of the rings of the Four Sisters. And one of my party asked how much. And we're like 45 minutes into the session. And I sat there for a moment and I was like, 4 lives. And they were like, lives? Lives. And they were taken aback, and they basically were like, so you want us to bring you people? Yes. Because that is how some of the most powerful spells are cast, is defiling humans. But that for me set a grave tone of like, this is what this world is like. This is what Athos is like. Dude, yeah. And then it was just on. It was just on from there. The weather kept getting worse, even within the city. They did meet Dionizio. Yo, shout out to Kits, wherever you are, Kits. They met Dionizio at the backseat with much to celebrate. Yes, I'm from Balik, but we celebrate where we can. Weppers is the barkeep at the final cellar. Wepper's sort of like a Forrest Gump. He was sort of a weird guy. No, I've been here for a minute. And then, did they meet Bones? Oh, this was the guy that works at the shop, right? Bagman. The death of the Sorcerer's King was cool. Blood running down from the ziggurat, like all this buzz around the solar sphere. I got that out there. Belief that maybe the gods aren't fallen. There was a bunch of snakes. They knew about that. Somebody bought a snake. You know what I mean? Oh shit, they had no primer before you dropped the lives line. Not really, dude. Not really. I mean, I had sent them the defiling and preserving sheet that we're using, which I can pull up if you'd like. I borrowed it from a 5e homebrew that I thought did a really good job. They basically used defiling as like sorcery points. But it was a heavy drop. And I think a good moment, especially after the mending moment, where this dwarf is like shocking this crowd by offering services for free, to then come inside and be like, you don't have enough money to buy this artifact. And they're like, well, how much is it? And they're like, 4 lives. Still living, younger than the age of 20. No, we have mini casters, dude. We have a bard, we have a warlock, we have 2 druids. Yeah. The 6th character won't be joining us for about 6 weeks. He probably will be a wizard. So even though I was like, yo, low magic, spells will be weird, pretty much everybody was like full caster. It was fun. There was a lot of moments like that, truly, where like they saw just that it's a hard place, right? Dude wants 4 lives. They don't respond. What else do you have? Piddle, piddle, piddle. One of the bards stole a die from a set of dice. So I'm not sure what, if anything, will come of that. I'm going to make a note. Stolen die. But after that, they basically were like, all right, cool. Should we get some sleep? Should we go do this, go do that? They go and they get a drink. They, basically see Dionysio, this tabaxi. Raise a cup, my friends. Any who need to drink, gain one from me, for a king was slain this day. And he more or less is celebrating that, the king of Tyr, is it Kalik, right? Yeah. King Kalik was murdered by one of his courtesans. No one else in the tavern is really celebrating. And that was meant to be indicative, even though Caravanity is like not run by a sorcerer king, it is a mercantile center, it's run by a league of merchants. Nonetheless, to openly celebrate the death of a sorcerer king is a dangerous, dangerous undertaking. I'm considering having the party later that next morning, i.e. next session, see Dionysio like crucified, like something brutal. But it doesn't make sense for that to happen in Caravanity. They wouldn't care that much. Maybe someone would sell that information. Maybe a Templar or an agent of a Sorcerer King might make note of this tabaxi. But I don't think that the merchant guards would come and like kill this dude. Anyway, they're there. He's kind of getting excited. Dionysio is celebrating, etc. Dude, they link the defiling with people. I mean, I think that they did. I think it took them a moment, but they did link it with defiling. And actually, in a very good way, that opened up a discussion of like, oh shit, so like, you can use people? And I'm like, yeah. The city of Draj, like, almost, uses captives and prisoners as almost an energy source by which they run their city. Which is dark as fuck. Let's call it what it is, baby boy.
I'm the man up in this piece.
Let's call it what it is. But that opened a whole discussion of like, oh shit. So like defiling is like, oh shit. And honestly, really from like I guess as I'm reflecting on it, it was really just the first hour that was hard, man. Now granted, party had a blast, but I'm like, there's no one's really like taking the ball and running with it. They're like, I'm like, here's a ball, bop, bop. I'm like throwing it to myself. And as I'm running around, I'm like, you guys want to play a little ball? And they're like, yeah, I'll see the ball. And they'll get it. Cool. And then give it right back to me. You know what I mean? It was that like 15 times. But after they leave this merchant, this guy Bones, I don't think they ever got his name. They go to the final cellar. They see the Tabaxi kind of celebrating with two of his fellows. And this Tabaxi is kind of telling him a little bit more about the world where they've been adventuring. They recently saw a meteor storm, almost like a shower of falling stars, just east of this bay, above the Sea of Silt. That's kind of a clue to one of the characters' backstories. He did not respond at all. And I don't know if he was just playing it close to the chest, but I was just like, okay. A rain of stars? No? You wrote that. Okay. So it happens. They continue on. The party is sort of pressing this group of Tabaxis. They're kind of like chilling and doing a whole lot of nothing. And I basically just had to wing it. I had, boom, a group of kids run in, burst in. Help, please, can someone help my brother? And it's basically this like 9-year-old girl with a boy not much older than her, with this like huge gaping hole in his chest. He's unconscious. He's like bleeding out, possibly already dead. And they're kind of crying out. The party's like, what's going on? The citizens of Caravanity are looking at this group of children and then sort of going back to their drinks. And the party comes over, does a medicine check, sees that it's like, oh wow, this is grievous. Like this person's been horribly injured. She's like, I don't know what happened. We were waiting for my dad. He's a carpenter. He's a tradesman. Can you help me find him, please? And you could have them come upon the Templar beating this Tabaxi up. Oh, that's a good one. That's a great one, Richter. That's a great one, big dog. I love that. Interrupted my train of thought so massively, but so worth it. Let's go ahead and get that down because it's a great idea. I guess we'll start using numbers. Fuck it. Dionizio. Dude, that's such a great idea. I love it. Pummeled by 3 Templars. I think all of the Templars are from Tyr. Before another blow drives him to the slatted street. Drives him onto the slatted streets. I like that a lot. They never linked the defiling with people. Yeah, I think they did. But you're right. I love that. I love players. Goddamn 4-year-olds and you never get it right. Exactly, dude. Exactly. I'm kind of like, it was a really, I think I'm just like feeling and inventing about it so much because I was and am so excited about this campaign. Yo, Xenotoes, what's up, baby boy? We got a Leggy in the mix. We got a couple Leggies in the mix. Just started a new D&D campaign. We vibing. But welcome, Toes. Good to see you, big dog. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, Richter. Appreciate you kicking that back to me. The point is that it's hard to talk about a Sorcerer King without somebody having an opinion. You know? Like, somebody has a fucking opinion. Yeah, we're vibing. I don't know if you know Dark Sun. Xenotoes, you don't... Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't play a ton of D&D. Is that right? I'm trying to remember. I don't think you do. I don't mean that as a judgment. Because we are trying to onboard tabletop players. But I'm running a campaign that's sort of like set in the world of Mad Max. One of the stores that was inside was selling a single peach seed. It was just one merchant, one item, peach seed. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, babe. Zella 5812 coming through. Is it? You know I'm getting a cut on Friday. Got to be a good day before that. Appreciate you, my babe. Oh, and make sure the Templars are not from Tyre to push the theme that you do not talk about Sorcerer Kings. Interesting. Interesting. That's an interesting thought. I'm not sure where I will put them then. Let me think about this. Maybe I'll put them from Balak. Yeah. Maybe I'll put them in Balak. We'll see. I like that. That's cool. Only BG3, cool. BG3 is fun. I've really only played BG1, but I loved it. I enjoyed it. And yeah, there's a lot there. It's basically like a 1-to-1 to D&D 5e. Maybe not the same as like playing in a campaign, right? Because it's all so remote and there's no real like direct role play, but the vibe and the combat very, very identical. Okay, so these kids burst in. They're basically like, please, like, can somebody help? Like, he's dying. We don't know where my dad is, but he's here. He's a seller. He can cover this. And the entire kind of tavern, you know, sort of looks to one another and goes back to their drinks. And again, meant to like set the tone. Like, this is post-apocalypse. People are not altruists. They are not taking care of each other. It is dog eat dog. And the Tabaxi sort of walks over and reacts, but he has no capacity to heal. Some of these PCs do. We got 2 druids. Nobody reacts. Okay. Also, magic is outlawed in Caravanity. It's very clear, very well established. So the party is again not reacting fast enough. They're all just sort of like waiting to see what will happen. So I'm like, okay, you see the girl pull her brother back and rush out of the tavern, back up the street. And they're like, oh, where's she going? I'm like, you have no idea. She just burst into a tavern, begged for help. No one reacted. 25 seconds went by. She screamed again, said that her father's a seller. Please, please. Nothing happened. They leave. Like, you know, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I know that I can floor it too much, where like if there's hesitance, if there's like beating around the bush, we go. But in this situation, after an hour and a half, 2 hours of session of it being like, we going, dog. We gone. Bye. Bye. We going. Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. That did hit them with some guilt. They did rush after. And that was sort of the last 45 minutes of the session, which I will explain in a moment. Star Wars Couture kind of counts as D&D. Interesting. Now, is that tabletop? I've never heard of this in my life, Zeno. Let's check this out. Oh, Knights of the Old Republic, of course. Yes, no, it's definitely role play, and it's pretty dope, honestly. So I played the OG version. I know there's a bunch out right now. It uses terminology and systems. Got it. I love that, Zeno. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of like a tabletop period, is like the bones of it, of the system, can often be cross-applied. But at the same time, the uniqueness of like Sanity in Call of Cthulhu, or like Orbital Blues has a lot of unique checks and skills. The uniqueness of a system is what I think draws me to it and grounds me in it. But 5.5 edition just came out. We're using that, and it's testing that theory just a little bit. So after the fact, the party rushes after them. They're like, okay, let us help you. And they don't really know where to go. There's not like a hospital or a doctor, right? the one person that spent some time in Caravanity, I tell them that he knows that there are more or less 3 general areas that are, I hesitate to say like a convenience store, but they sell versions of the same thing. You can find food there, you can find water, you can find basic equipment, and including in that are vegettes, which are like fruit-based healing potions. That's option 1. I had him roll either a history or a persuasion check to kind of get a feel for how well he's connected within his 5-6 weeks in the city of Caravanity. And he rolled high enough that I told him he also knew of this woman that was just north of the Black Rock that, you know, was sort of like kind of treated as a mystic, potential witch. You know, she'd been investigated for using magic in the city, but ultimately hadn't been like charged or found guilty. But strong connotation, like a long shadow stretches across anyone that darkens that door frame. But desperate times. And thus they grab the child, they start working over to the Black Rock neighborhood. And so now we come into a lot of the reason that I have spent 25 minutes explaining this entire setup is because in D&D, unlike, let's use the example of Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is an incredible game. I've played like 25 minutes of it. But it's beautiful, people love it, it's extremely immersive. There's tons of options, right? In terms of character design, aesthetics, but also within the plot of the narrative. Like the designers of BG3 were like, we know that D&D players are insane, so there are 4,000 endings and multiple options, blah, 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 blah. Same with good tabletop and good D&D, in my opinion. However, a DM is not a computer, right? So to be able to create those through lines at the drop of a hat is sometimes more or less difficult depending on the situation, the timing, how long ago I ate lunch, whatever it would be. In this situation, the party has, the main goals I'm trying to set up from this session are setting the tone of Athos, setting the tone of Dark Sun of the campaign. That's why people are wanting to be paid in human bodies. That's why you see people punished, you see people missing hands. The fear of magic is comprehensive. The lack of generosity is comprehensive, right? Neighbors doubt neighbors, even in a relatively safe spot like Caravanity. And that comes to bear now, as they have spent 2.5 hours passing the ball back to me, committing to nothing. I gave me such joy to have the girl leave. She was just like, out, boop, runs away. The party's like, oh, okay, wait, actually come back. And now they decide we're going to help this girl. They're going to take her to this witch, to this soothsayer above the Black Rock. So they start walking across Caravanity, which is built like in a circle. Start going down and around. As they do, they traverse through the actual Black Rock district, which is very much the like shady red light part of town. Not that there's a bunch of sexual stuff, but like you see creatures for sale. You see what appears to be like, is that an organ? Like, is that a finger or is that like a dick? You know what I mean? Like there are enormous macabre spectacles and also macabre commercial exchange where you can buy these things as components or whatever the heck you're going to use them for. But the party is now rushing through with this like hysterical girl, her dying brother, and another like mute 3-year-old boy that's white as a sheet and hasn't said anything, but he's just clutching his sister's hand. They rush through. They get past it to this area that is, you know, pretty much residential with the exception of one almost like mached hut painted green with steps descending down. This is the lair of this hovel, this woman of the Black Rock. I love that, Amon, that you can build your own superpowers. Totally. Similar to Cypher, there's so much maneuverability with tabletop that ideally, like this is what Amanda was saying about Pathfinder 1, is that you can really build whatever you have in your mind's eye. D&D is maybe less flexible as written, but a good DM will work with you, will be able to reskin it and find a way to bring your idea to life, in my opinion. But the party rushes by the Black Rock. They head into the area, and they descend into this woman's sort of space. And it's a small circular hut. The entirety of the walls, the circumference of the walls, are strung with this very thin kind of fiber or yarn. And intertwined into the fiber and yarn are these little trinkets. Some of them look, you see a unicorn, you see a moon, you see wheat, you see this kind of jagged, barbed creature. These are all tokens to the old gods. They didn't quite put that together, but that's fine. Yo, Mapro! What's up, big boy? But it also brings much confusion with it. Is the confusion for the players or for the DM? Good to see you, Mapro. Get in here, big dog. We had session 1 yesterday. It went okay. It went all right. Had to crack the whip quite a bit. But I hope you're doing well, man. Truly. I also wanted to ask you, dude, like, maybe we'll Discord about this because I'm interested in having a map made. And, like, I don't want to make it because I'm not very good at it, but I'd love to kind of pick your brain about it. It's a pretty simple, like, donut-shaped map. But I haven't used Incarnate in a long time, so I'm just sort of curious, Both? Yes. Good. Oh, goodness. Was the yarn supposed to represent the weave? Kind of. It was meant to represent, like, her connections more to the old world, to the gods. So, yes, I think of the weave as being only divine, but basically, yes. As they're there, in my mind, this woman was like an old sort of soothsayer from Louisiana. What happened here? They're like, she was stabbed. His father's rich. Heal him. It's like, are you not in need of wealth, power? Why don't you heal him? Such a great opportunity. And here we are, like, in the culmination of the entire session. There's an issue. There's the party, I guess, seemingly afraid to commit because they're not sure of the new rules of the world, the rules of this city. But they want to see this child saved, but they don't want to do it. So here they are basically trying to, like, leverage and persuade, and there's all this back and forth. Sweet Mapro, I'll holler. And, eventually I had to make the decision where I'm like, they're not paying this woman, like, this doesn't make sense to me. It's also very anticlimactic and very anti-heroic to basically be like, all right, come, we'll save you. We'll save you. Come on. And then they run up and they're like, save this boy. And she's sort of like, why don't you save him? And there's one warlock who has defiled. And I had her, like many druids, like many natural casters. She's not a druid, but she uses natural magic. They can sense those that have defiled. So she's staring right at him. Was it worth the cost? Was it? How long did that power last? And does it still? And no one really knew what he was talking about, but I messaged him. I was like, you've defiled, right? And he was like, yes. And I was like, she knows it. So the party's there, like, with their hands on their butts, like, what do we fucking do? Dude, share the news, dog. Yeah, Richter, I love returning it back to them as well. So now we're in this strange moment of, like, it's night. The desert storm is, like, whipping around this city. Occasionally you'll hear the top of tent poles snapping, the clattering of steeples falling down. It is as if the night and the sand around it is moving in this twisting lament of chaos and loss. And within that, mirroring that to a degree, is this young girl who's like, please, my dad will help you. She'll do anything he can. Mace, I don't know what happened. I just found him like this. And she essentially, she being this woman of the Black Rock, she looks directly at the defiler. Let's do it your way then. And she extends her hands over this gaping chest wound. And I'd had this sort of like hissing, like feral cat vibe happening from the moment they walked in. And the reason that I did that was just to like set a vibe, and because like this woman kind of had witchy vibes, so she has some cats. But now as she goes to cast, she defiles the cat. And the hissing goes silent. In the same moment, you see smoke, almost like a soldering from her hands. As the wound closes, yes, the blood seeps back in, sure, but the gash is not fully healed. Looks almost like a burn victim. This strange blistering of flesh across this boy's chest. I await my wealth and riches. The power you say comes with healing and with good deeds. This woman's just like fucking with the party at this point. I also loved it because like I didn't have this woman planned at all. But just indecision has now driven us here, right? Like again and again and again. Over personal DMs, I can only disclose in person. Okay, disclose in person. Yeah, I want to know. I mean, can you redact the juice? Can you de-juice to a degree? Because you got us primed up in here, baby boy. We primed. You got me primed, dog. Call me Amazon because I am primed. The boy wakes up and he starts to sort of recant what he saw, which was meant to be this. A bog lady, the witch of the moors, a fae that was, an old witch that tricked a fairy, is invading people's dreams. She possesses one of the rings, the Ring of Stars. She is meant to be one of the four sisters from that kind of four sisters arc that's meant to be a plot point of season 1. So it's almost like this boy was poking around where he shouldn't have been in this area of Caravanity beneath the dome. And, sorry. Center of Caravanity. I'm just remembering things that I didn't write down. And you know, I originally I wanted the party to like come across this trio. Their clothes torn, knees and wrists caught with blood. They look wild. They're beside themselves with panic. And all that they were going to say is what they saw. We were waiting for our dad, and it's like the whole alley just became like night, like shadow. And they just described like getting pulled into this strange fey vision. And that was more to explain the four sisters, to explain this woman of the moors, this fae that was, blah, 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 blah. But because of all the like dilly-dallying and how low energy it felt like the party was being, I made the decision to just punch it the fuck up. Like, no, they're not running from it. One of them was bit by this exchange, is dying. And this other girl is desperately coming like door to door, any public space. Like, please, I can't find my dad, please. Eventually they help. That leads them to the Lady of the Black Rock. She ends up doing the healing because the party's a bunch of fucking pussies. And now the children are sort of like, thank you. Oh my God, this happened. Oh my God. Like, okay, fuck, we got to go find my dad. Like, I don't want to die in this place, please. And so they're heading back out. And as they head out, in my mind, kind of a beautiful exchange where this one guy, Jordan, who, dude, I love the way he role plays. Like he knows the rules the worst, but he does some of the best role play. You know what I mean? He's a very talented actor and improviser. But he plays a Goliath. He's huge. He's like a half rock stone giant. He described his dreads as being like little pebble dreads, just like connected pebbles that are dreads. But anyway, he was like, man, I'm probably too big to go down into this hovel. And I was like, it would be claustrophobic and you would be hunched over. It's not impossible. And he was like, I'm going to stay outside. Cool. This party of children, this trio, is now like running away from this witch, running away from the party. They're more just looking for their dad. And as they come up, they run smack dab into this stone Goliath. The boy's like, holy shit, are you real? And sort of touches it. And they start explaining in more detail to Zathan, to this Goliath, what they saw. that it felt like a dream, but it wasn't, that they'd been talking to this guy that was another carpenter that had been working with their dad. And the boy was trying to make his dad proud. He wanted to go and sell some of the old pieces of wood and turn a little bit of coin and impress his father. And as he went with this other carpenter to complete this deal, it's as if the entire alley became black, insubstantial. What was brick and stone and wood became smoke and strangeness and lack of specificity as he enters the Fae. So as that's happening, right? Well, let me just catch up with this chat, because this is how we ended the session, and it felt very satisfying to me. Richter knows what's up. It was a no shit moment. So witches can heal by sucking the life of animals in the D&D universe. Xenatos, great question. You probably answered it. In Dark Sun, they can heal by sucking the life out of living things, including people. Exactly. I knew Richter would get to that. Yes, and Richter's explained it well. I mean, essentially, in the version of D&D we're playing, right? There are different campaign settings. You might have heard of the Curse of Strahd. That's like maybe the most well-known D&D setting. In Curse of Strahd, you're basically running like a Count Dracula campaign, to a degree. There's this ancient, enormous vampire that's lording over this, kind of vaguely Slavic land. In that world, the mechanics of D&D are the same, but there are some things to Strahd that are specific mechanics, like what happens outside the cities, or passing through the fog, or what have you. The D&D I'm running is the beginning of a whole new campaign, Campaign 2, called The Fallen Coast. But the first campaign was classic D&D, like Lord of the Rings, swords, magics, elves, dwarves, dragons. It was dope. But when that campaign ended in September, we basically had been playing for years, man, like literally 4.5 years. The party is now trying to figure out what's next. And I, the DM, have been drawn to this setting called Dark Sun for a long-ass time. But the challenge became, how do I take the previous campaign in this lush, verdant, classic, like medieval Europe high fantasy world and turn it into a desert hellscape post-apocalypse? Yeah? And in Dark Sun, a lot of the conceit is that there is almost no magic. Like there's been an enormous deluge and loss of magic, and there's like some mental stuff, like some psionics, some psychic shit. But those that use magic are typically very rare and very powerful. And, I did a bunch of streams about it. We basically built out like this thing called the Great Loss. It was this undertaking of mages about 150 years ago that led to this enormous magical mishap, essentially, where the threads of magic snapped backwards and the natural world, the vitality of the actual energy of the earth was sapped, was pulled away. And now to use magic, unless you do something called preserving, which is a very careful way of casting, now to use magic in this world pulls directly from the vitality of living things, of plants, of animals, of creatures. That's why that one vendor, Bones the Old Bear, nice and gentle as he might be saying, was only willing to sell his artifact in exchange for 4 lives. Because that's just like the world they live in, dude. It's dog eat dog. Metal is very rare. Water is extremely scarce. It's hard out there. A domain of dread. Yes. Correct. Well put, him on. The reason I asked because I never got into D&D, but other fantasy universes have witches that usually can't heal things. And if they do, it's in the form of potions like light fantasy witches. Totally. I love that. I can offer this. Someone may or may not have possibly kind of secured a vast support structure to assist, possibly, maybe with the future of my settings presence in the gaming sphere. Look at that fucking Illuminati triangle. Let's get it, Matt, bro. Let's go. Heck yeah, dude. Someone may or may not have possibly kind of secured a vast support structure to assist, possibly, maybe, the future of my setting's presence in the gaming sphere. I fucking love it, dude. I love it. Congrats. I want people supporting every single one of us. And Mapro, you're a beast. I'm so glad to hear that. Give me the full deets in the private Discord. I will keep it secret. I will keep it safe. Okay, so the party has been like passing the buck for 3 hours. And now, after they've taken this wounded boy in a town that has dangerously outlawed magic, like it is capital punishments for those that are found using magic. This witch defiles, draws the power of this cat to heal the life of this boy. The children ascend back to the city streets, the neighborhood of the Black Rock. There is this party member who couldn't fit inside this Goliath. And as they're chopping it up, and as this boy's like, I don't know. I just saw her, and she was like old, and she reached toward me, and she had a ring on her finger. And as that happens, the rest of the party comes up, and they're like, what? What the fuck is this? We just heard a bunch of stories about rings. Did she look like this? A voice cuts through the night. What exactly is going on here? They turn, and it's this sort of dirty blonde, salt and pepper hair, very well-trimmed, narrow beard, handsome-ish, 5'11" human man, wearing a very well-made white doublet with this gold piping running the length of the collar and down the sleeves and wrists. One of the purse keepers of this league of merchants that runs the Caravanity, a man by the name of Baradon. What's going on here? Of course, the party, as they are wont to do, just puckers their butts up and says nothing. Ooh! Nothing wrong with a puckered butt, but when you're on like 3 hours of it, Christ alive. At the same time, as I'm sitting here, what I'm going to choose to say is that a lot of why that was happening is because your boy was absolutely cooking. I had a lot of stuff in the barrel. I didn't give a fuck. Like, I was coming to lay out the vibe of Athos. Get on, get off, that's it. But it was very funny in this moment where I'm like, consequence! And the party's like, and again just refuses to, like, move. You, child. The boy's, like, not moving. With me, child. He takes 2 hard steps and wrenches the boy away from his sister. Mace! This boy was seen bleeding, unconscious, being led through the Black Rock. Now he stands, healed. Again, I'm just leaving these gaps. I like, as a DM, to say something, to describe something, and then step back. You motherfuckers talk. Well, yeah, he was made well. People start to, like, lie without lying, right? Deception check, natural 1. I described this purse keeper as wrenching the boy towards him and ripping open the front of his shirt, which again was like, yeah, it was just funny. The party was like, so he's manhandling a child. I'm like, it's Dark Sun. Yes, he is. But as he rips open the chest, he sees this wound that, yes, while it was healed, was not fully recovered. It still looks like an aberration, almost like a burn, a charring of the flesh. I see. You are saying that no magic was used here, Templar. We have a Templar in the party, and he turns to the Templar. And that's where I called the session. Right there. Hanging, not received an answer. And, you know, it's going to be hard to come back into session 2 and, you know, kick back up that vibe, that sort of sense of danger. But it's definitely not going to be impossible. And I think that's part of, like, the draw and the excitement, at least for me, in terms of finding a good place to cut off the cliffhanger. That was the most conflict and the most stakes we had all night. It also got, like, a big groan from the party. They're like, no, wait, da-da-da. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you guys just finally started playing. Welcome. Hopefully it won't take 3 hours next time, but maybe it will. So anyway, that is all of the recap. That is all of that's a lot of the State of the Union as well. I already talked about that. So now let's talk a little bit about session 2. We're playing every 2 weeks, which, for me is hard because like I miss it, and the off week feels like it's 2 weeks long. But the DM side of me deeply appreciates it, right? Have a little more time, a little more flexibility. So definitely working in Dionicio, getting pummeled. That's a must-have. Kits, I wish you were here, big dog. Dionicio's in trouble. Dude, I'm so pumped for you, man. It's rad. Yeah, I want to hear the rundown. I think it's really important, I know this to be true, is that the feeling that we experience with success, with progress, with attaining something that we long and strive for, that feeling of satisfaction, of joy, of gratitude, that literal real-time, moment-to-moment sustained emotion and awareness of gratitude and joy is like the base level building block of what both manifestation and the most powerful, highest forms of consciousness, that's how they express themselves, is through emotion. That's why I think negativity can be so damning, but also can be so cyclical, because we almost feed ourselves it. We almost condition ourselves towards it. And I'm very guilty of this. More like in isolated areas. Like I'm trying to recover from this elbow injury, and anytime I feel a twinge in my elbow, I'm like, fuck, I'm back at 0. But I'm not back at 0. This is an up and down bell curve towards ascension and progress. My point being that hanging on to that, like hanging on to that bursting, like vibrant sense of joy from, in this case, somebody coming through, right? The longer and the more genuinely we can access that day to day, morning to morning, breath to breath, the more the universe unfolds life before us. I truly believe that. So session 2, be picking up just outside the hovel of the Lady of the Black Rock, Purse Keeper, Ploust, Salt and Pepper, sort of vaguely RP. What's going on here? Sharp black beard, thin, wispy RP. That's me just describing how he talks. So you say there was no magic? There's no magic used here, Templar. Now, in the moment, and this was also part of why I called the session, and part of it was like it was 9:23 and we end at 9:30. So I was like, this is a good out. But part of it was also, yo, who we got? Who's coming through being kind to us? Yo, Matt Bro, come on. Come on. Dude, 13 months for 3 months in advance. Shut the front door. Did we just get to 10? Hold up. Did we just unlock it? Did we unlock it? Let me see. Damn it. Okay, we need one more sub to get to a giveaway. Just saying, y'all. It's out there. But I appreciate you so much, Matt Bro. Thank you for saying that. No, I appreciate that. And it is going to wreak havoc, Richter. And I did have a lot of information. You're right. Especially when you're starting a new setting and it's not just like Faerun. I think sometimes the first couple sessions are a little bit more worky, more heavy lifting for the DM, right? You know what I'm saying? Richter, shut up. You gifted one to Zella5812, that lucky duck? Zella5812, what do you have to say for yourself? Get out of here, man. Getting going on a hype train? Let's get it. Let's choo-choo this bitch. Let's choo-choo this girl. Hey, Kate. Thank you so much for coming through. Get out of here. Seriously, Hecate, thank you for coming through. Good to see you. We're doing a little D&D prep. Richter just unlocked a sub giveaway. Let's go. So we'll be giving away a tank top next Wednesday. Ski! Can't wait for that. Hey, Kate, good to see you. And Richter, you're a prince. You're too kind to us. Seriously. How do I do this? I wish that I knew more about like the hype train in general, because it's hilarious to me and I love it. Man, it has been way too long. I've been really good. Have a child. They turned 1. Just started a new D&D campaign. So basically I have 2 babies, is my point. But appreciate you. How are you? Give us the 75-word recap. Where are you at? How you living? Emotionally, where are we on a scale of 0, which is dead, to 100, which is in nirvana? Take your time. Okay, so session 2, I just want to get the bare bones to. The picking up business at the Hovel of the Lady of the Blackrock, the Purse Keeper's there. You're using it for deception or persuasion check. And this is how I probably see it going. Breakdown is something like this. I see it going 2 ways. One is like this purse keeper that has this boy, right? Either like, yeah, imagine if you're running for brand new to RPG players in Faerun. Yeah, agreed. No, Xenotos, I'm not sure if you mean my party. I'm not sure who, if you're asking if they play D&D. But many of them do. Mapro does. I believe Hecate does as well. I've got one who's 2 years old. Got me. And I've been making classes and subclasses. Let's go. Playtesting a subclass. Let's go. I fucking love that. Xenotos, I love that. No, I only have one child, and he's 1 year old. He's well on his way to being a real-world warlock, it seems. And undoubtedly, they will play D&D. It's just a matter of when, not if. God, I love this hype chain emote. I don't know why I love it. It cracks me up, dude. You're killing me. Killing me with the hype chain. I can't share the one I'm I can share the one I'm playtesting. Let's go. Best time to start, agreed. He loves dice. The boy loves dice. Amazing. Yeah, share the playtesting. Hecate, are you doing it in someone's campaign? Or are you kind of just like running it like a test lab where you have an encounter or you're trying different scenarios? Does that make sense? 30 plus years now, love it, and about to make it a career. Let's go. That's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. Old enough to roll dice, baby. Yes. Running it in a one-shot solo, great. Great way to test something out. Very low stakes, but fun, right? A one-shot for me is like the definition of let it rip. Use that spell slot. Pickpocket that guard. Go for it. Who gives a fuck? Okay, so this is how I see it going. One of 2 options. One is the purse keeper detains the children, pulling them in and marching them towards the dome. The dome is like this old wooden structure that is the very center of this cyclical city, if you will. That's one option. The second option is some version of Mace, you know, the child that was injured, is cuffed and handed over to one of the golden guards. These are like the merchant guards of the city, right? Yo, I appreciate that hype train, dog. 62 is better than nothing. We'll take that. Spend all that gold. Exactly. Tip your waitress. Buy that thing. Just do it. Are you in the Discord? I think you are. Drop it under the artwork, if you don't mind. But I would love to see that. Okay, but the second option is that the child that was injured is like hit by the purse keeper and then handed over to one of the golden guards. And then Baradon begins to descend down the steps of the hovel. Now, in this, like, kind of how I want this to go, this is sort of this is how I see it going, is like there's this like standoff. It's the dead of night, the curfew's about to be set down, shops are closing up. This child was just dragged bloody and unconscious through this area. Tons of people saw them. And now, 10 minutes later, the hole in their chest is gone. This was magic. There's very little other explanation. The only question is who did the magic, right? So the purse keeper could just detain the children, right? I think that the party might try to stop them. But the problem there is that they might not. Like, they might just be like, oh shit, this is too dangerous. It is too dangerous. They probably shouldn't try to stop them. And right now, the kids have the ability to further the plot and the story because they can take them to see their dad. They can point out the carpenter that they were talking with whenever this strange fey dream took over. They can give them more details about the vision of the lady with the ring, blah, 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 blah. But I like very much, yo, Marshmallow, what's up, boy? Get in here, legend. It has been dropped like a bomb. Well, the best kind of bombs, of course, are art bombs, right? An art bomb goes off and everybody celebrates. Although sometimes there's glitter and you can't get that shit out for years. So blessing and a curse. But I like the idea of, instead of detaining the children, he just cuffs him, sort of strikes him, gives them to one of the guards, looks the party over with disdain, and marches down the steps into the hovel of this woman, this known witch. And at that point in time, I think it would be very compelling and cool if, like, an eldritch blast, like, blasts this dude backwards. Maybe it's even a repelling blast. He's driven back 15 feet. And at that point, the witch makes a fucking run for it. Basically what I'm considering, you know, is some version of, like, the Paladin steps the hovel and is blasted back by a repelling eldritch blast. The witch then makes a run for it. Option 3, same as above, except the witch polymorphs herself into a cat. I don't know why, I just enjoy that. But the goal really in all three of these is hopefully to create a situation where the party is put in initiative. Even if it's just like, grab the child, we'll take him to the dome, and we'll get to the bottom of this ourselves. And you see Preston, the girl, be like, Mace, run! And she, like, stamps on the foot of the purse keeper, right? And at that moment, we'll roll initiative. Because I very much, because initiative, you know, combat can, like, break things down and go much slower, which can be a negative. It can also be a positive, because it can force your party into a person-by-person decision of what they want to do, right? So I think that will basically be what is going on, what is at stake. I think they'll absolutely see this Dionizio fellow just getting beat down. The point of all of these is to put the party in initiative, because I think initiative will force them to make a move, right? Oh my God, bless you. You told me about this. Amber Temple is like the worst. Like the worst. The worst, but also the best. Yeah, you told me that he's Vecna. I absolutely love that. And I forget the relationship between Vecna and Strahd. Isn't there one? Right? That's awesome, Marshmallow. When do y'all play next? I'm curious. Glitter, the only evidence of strippers that I have no way to clean up. Yes, exactly, Richter. Vecna was the first to try. Well, no, for sure. But I mean, like, within the Curse of Strahd, they're, like, Vecna is not really a part of the lore. He gives Strahd his abilities. Got it. And tomorrow, baby boy, let's fucking go.
Let's go.
I love that. Agreed, Richter. That's my hope, right? Like, the more the party chooses, the more the party's dice decide, the better the campaign. I don't want to be rolling for what the reaction is. I don't want to be rolling for how somebody responds. Like, fuck no. So this hopefully will be a way to sort of create that. I keep forgetting Vecna became a god. I really liked that. I mean, Vecna is a very exciting kind of galvanizing figure, and one that I think like pumps a lot of people up. So, like, I would love that. If I was in Curse of Strahd, I'd be like, fuck yeah. Okay, guys, this has been rad. Like, I love this. I feel like we got a ton done. Yeah, I like really enjoy this. Marshmallow, thank you for coming through. I've also written so much for my story for about 10 years now. No way. Wow. And is most of it, is all of it rooted in Strahd? Richter, thank you so much for coming through. Mapro, love you, dude. So happy for you. Thank you for the news. Hecate, you a ledge. Appreciate you coming through. Thank you for blowing up the Discord. Finally, some artwork. Finally. About time. I am in full bloom. Zella5812, you look cute, little cute. Getting gifted a sub by the Lord Richter himself. Amazing. Amon, Xenatos. Truly, all you rascals coming through and supporting makes my day. I love hanging out with y'all. You are the juice that comes from the fruit of my streams. Truly. Because I do get some work done and I enjoy that. But it is so uplifting to me, an extrovert that works from home, to be able to chop it up with y'all. For real. Like, this is my social interaction for the day. Now I will go back to editing and then tutoring at 4 o'clock. So, I love you guys. I appreciate it. I like to end every D&D stream by rating somebody else that is doing a little prep. Right now, we got somebody called Plutarch Rogers. They're homebrewing and lore making. An Angry Meatball is in there. Oh my gosh, Meatball. Let's go. Let's totally raid this. Okay, cool. Guys, I love y'all. We're going to raid this guy. I hope you can come through and just like say what up. It makes people's day. Pop in. Tell him Carpe sent you. It's the truth. Tell him where we're coming from. It's 99% of my homebrew world. I love it. Oh, Marshmallow, you're the man. Glad you made it. Better late than never. Am I the only being in existence to sneak up on the Lady of Pain? Nearly taking it over. Okay. We're out of here, guys. Tell Plutarch that we appreciate and support. I'll see y'all next Wednesday for some more D&D. And as ever, take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Smooches. We gone. We out of here.
Yeah.